Alright, the first sheet's installed, and I'm pretty satisfied. The only thing I don't like is if you look at the bottom left, there's a little bit more of a gap down that way than there is throughout the rest of the piece. The only thing I could attribute this to is the fact that the tub, I think, takes a small dip on that end. Put a level on the tub in the middle, and it was pretty level. And the backerboard sheet's level at the top as well. So that has to be what it is. So it is what it is. We'll just be filling that in with thin set and calling it a day. And let me explain, now that I have the sheet in, what you do is you fill that gap in with thin set. You make sure it's pretty flush, and then that'll take care of that gap. And then your tile will run down to the edge of the tub. I tried to leave an 1/8 inch space here, and I'll be leaving a 1/4 inch space at the bottom and caulking it. And that's pretty much what a lot of people recommend. As I might have mentioned in the first video, some people actually use furring strips down the 2x4, and then that brings the cement board out so it can fit flush and go over the tub lip. But I believe I also mentioned in the first video, I don't have much of a ledge to my tub. So had I done that, the backer board would have probably came out to about here, and that's not really what I wanted to do. And just a noteworthy comment: those who do recommend using the furring strips, I'm not sure exactly what they do. I think I have an idea. That might be okay for the back wall, but for the two side walls, or rather the front and back wall, if you were to do that, put your furring strips on your 2x4s there, when you go to lay your 1/2 inch sheets of backerboard, it'd be about an 1/8 inch too thick here, and I don't think it would mate that well with the existing drywall. Same thing goes for this side. This is 1/2 inch drywall. I'm using 1/2 inch backer. If I had furring strips, I'd stick out about an 1/8. And as I said, I have a feeling I know what they do. They probably use a border, but to me it's really unnecessary. And I know a lot of people do the backerboard in the method that I'm displaying here. No furring strips. You lay the backerboard about an 1/8 inch above the lip and you screw it in. I'm here by myself. This stuff weighs a lot. This is a full 3x5 sheet minus, what is it? I think I took a 1/4 of an inch off the side in a previous video. So it's a full 1/2 inch 3x5 sheet of concrete board. When you're working by yourself, it can be a little tough. What I did was I rested this board on top of the ledge of the tub, and this was only 3/4 of an inch. So I took 3 of these on top of it to give me a total height of 1 1/4, because these are 1/4 thick, and that ended up being too high off the tub ledge, so I deleted a piece. So I had this and 2 pieces of tile. It's an impromptu spacer. What I did is I set it right here, and then that sat on top of it, so I didn't have to juggle the backerboard while I put my first screws in. And I also, now at this point, I want to tell you what kind of screws you're supposed to use with this HardieBacker. It's these are corrosion resistant screws. I'm using 1 5/8 inch. This is what they look like. They have that square head to them, and this stuff comes with a bit. Comes with a bit to use in your drill. And a pack of 150 of these runs about $9 or $10 at your local hardware store, or Lowe's or Home Depot. It's the beginning of 2013. January 2013, so that's the price is effective that date. And what you do, you put that bit in your trusty drill. Alright. You make sure your screw is at a stud. I know that because I see my stables. And I sunk the first screw in. And ideally, it can be tricky at first, but ideally what you want to do, let me try to find one. I'm not that great at doing it, so I'll be honest with you, there's hardly any that are like that. If there are any like that. There aren't any. But this is the closest one I got. They should be sunk in just a little bit, so as to not add any height. If it sticks out a little bit, your thin set will counter for it. But I've noticed what you do is you start the screw, start it going in pretty fast, and then once it gets to be sticking out to about 1/4 inch, I let off the trigger of the drill and I let the momentum drive the rest in. And that seems to work the best for me. Maybe not because I don't have very good results, but I find that it does a better job than hanging on the trigger the entire way, because then they sink in too far, and then you have it basically drills right through the backer board. I'd rather have them stick out a little bit than have that condition, the aforementioned condition. Here's one that sticks out way too far. I couldn't get a very good angle in there with my drill, so I'll just have to hammer those in carefully. One trick to getting these pretty straight, see there's a screw, there's a screw, they're fairly straight. I don't have a plumb bob, so what I did was I have the kind of tape measure that self-locking. So what I do is I just start it and then I let it go, kind of like that. Alright, and I line it up to that. Now the weight of that tape measure, that'll be pretty plumb. And an added benefit over a plumb bob is you know how often to put your screws. I've been putting them in every 12 inches. I think that's the recommended amount. Not sure. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not going to take up a lot of video time trying to guess how much, but it's pretty solid with the way I put it in. So there it is. That's the finished product.